So welcome back, everyone. And today we're going to talk about a book. So the book that I'm going to talk to you about is called Just Keep Buying. Let's understand what is this book about and how can we get the best value by investing time in reading this particular book. So Just Keep Buying is a book which is about financial wisdom. And the author of this book is Nick Maggiulli. So before we talk about the insights from this book, it's important to understand what is this book about, why should you read it, and so on and so forth. So there are multiple lessons that I would love to talk about, but some basic things that we need to know before we know more about the book. So this book has been authored by Nick Maggiulli. Nick Maggiulli is the Chief Operating Officer and Data Scientist at Ritholtz Wealth Management. He is also a graduate from Stanford University with a degree in economics. And he's also the author of a website called offdollarsandData.com, which is again focused on disseminating financial knowledge about personal finance to people who are interested. So that's a bit about Nick Maggiulli, who is the author. Now, let's talk about the book. Now, this is the book, Just Keep Buying, and it was published first in the year 2022, so not very far ago. And at the same time, it's a non-fiction genre. So it's something which talks about personal finance, wealth management, and wealth creation in further depth. It's about 274 pages, but very, very easy to read. So you really don't have to worry about the length of the book as you pick this up. And it was published by HarperCollins Publishers. So just in a nutshell about what this book is all about. Now, the most important part, what is it that we can pick from this book? The nuggets of wisdom that we need to look forward to. First of all, this book is meant for all people who love money. Okay, and I'm sure you must be one of them. So money is something which is very close to all of us. Money is something that we need for our day-to-day expenses, but also to accomplish the larger dreams that we have in life. Yet not many people are educated enough in the context of investment. And I think that is where this book really is an eye-opener of sorts in several ways. So some of the learnings that I derived from this book, I'm going to share with you. There are 12 such insights that I picked up. There are many, many more, but I would like to share these 12 insights, which I think are applicable to almost every individual, no matter who you are, no matter which country you belong to, what's your origin, what kind of business or work do you do, or you're self-employed or you're employed somewhere else. It's going to help all of us. Okay. So here are some of the insights that I picked from the book. Number one, it talks about the fact that you've got to focus on income, not spending. Now, the author does not say spending is not important. You've got to keep a tab on how much amount you spend. You've got to be frugal, and all of that is great. But most importantly, it's important that you have one, a consistent source of income, and possibly if you can multiply your source of income, that's even better, which means either you're capable of enhancing your income year on year, given the virtue of your job or the business that you do or whatever you're doing in life. And at the same time, if you can have multiple sources of income like rental income and dividends and other incomes, that definitely means you can invest more. Okay. So the bottom line is, rather than just focusing too much on how much you're spending, it's important to notice how much you're earning. The more you earn, the more are your chances of investing money wherever you want to invest it. So that's number one. Number two, he talks of a very, very interesting concept. So have you ever had this situation where you spent money on something and then you felt guilty? I shouldn't have spent that money. Maybe I didn't need that phone right now, or I shouldn't have gone for that laptop. So you start to feel guilty about it. It's very natural. We all have been through that. So Nick talks about an interesting formula that you can actually use. It's called as the 2x rule. What is the 2x rule? It simply means that if you spend an amount of money on buying something and then you feel guilty about it, then invest the same amount of money in some investment source, or perhaps you can donate it to a charity so that you don't feel guilty about it. Now, it's not just about not feeling guilty. What he actually is trying to promote here is that when you invest equal amount of sums of money which you've spent right now, you feel assured that I've done justice to the money I had with me. So either you invest it or you donate it, so that you don't feel guilty, but at the same time, you're assured that I've made sure that I invest equally as much money as I spend. So that's called the 2x rule. Very, very interesting. And I'm certainly looking forward to using it. Another rule, rule number 3, if you may call it, is to save at least 50% of your future raises and bonuses. Now, this is interesting, especially if you are working with an organization, year on year or once every year, you would be subjected to an appraisal, and therefore your salary is likely to go up by a few notches. Now, normally what happens is as soon as the salary increases, people tend to increase their expenditure towards lifestyle, which is not really bad. But more importantly, the author says that if you can set aside 50% of every rupee that increases in your income, then perhaps you are slightly increasing your lifestyle, but at the same time, you're enhancing your investments by multiple counts. So it's important to set aside at least 50% of your raises and bonuses. This way, you get into the habit of enhancing your investments every time your income appreciates. So that's a good habit to develop. Number 4, debt isn't good or bad. It depends on how you use it. I think it's an interesting take on the concept of debt. I personally make sure that I try to live as debt-free as possible. But the author also says that debt isn't all that bad, given the fact you're using it for the right reasons. For example, if you're using debt as a source of money that you're using for funding your business, or for that matter, it is being used for something which is going to help you earn income in the future. So there are occasions where debt might be a necessity, but more so using it intelligently, smartly, and not falling into a debt trap. That is what is absolutely important. So debt can be dangerous if you don't use it smartly, but if you use it smartly, it can also help you in many, many ways. Number 5, only buy a home when the time is right. Now, we all live in an era where there are people who say that you should never own a home. There are people who say that you should always go for a rented accommodation. And there are people who say that you should invest as much as possible in the dream home that you buy. There are multiple schools of thought here. However, what the author has tried to focus on is, when do you want to invest in buying your own home? So basically, he tries to say that you should try to look at your own personal finances, how comfortable you are in terms of going for your own home, so that you don't end up borrowing too much. At the same time, the home that you go for has to meet with your lifestyle requirements. So it's a big decision. Perhaps, as the author says, it might be the biggest financial decision you could make for yourself. So ask yourself, when is a good time? Now, when basically means, do I have sufficient amount of money, or do I have the right kind of income that will help me make this decision at this point in time? All those are important questions which you need to answer for yourself when you decide to buy a home. So buying a home just because others are doing it may not be a good idea. You got to identify your right time to buy your dream home. Rule number 6, when saving for a big purchase, use cash. Now, what does that mean? Now, most of the times people set aside money for their kids' education, marriage, buying a dream car, or things like that. Now, what the author generally says that if you invest that money, it's good, nothing wrong with that, you got to invest, but there are possibilities that because of the fluctuations in the market, because of the volatility, your money might go up or down when you are looking to buy something which is an important financial decision for you. So rather than that, you could set aside certain cash on a consistent basis so that you're left with a certain lump sum amount whenever you want to go for that particular product or that particular aspiration that you have. This ensures that although you haven't earned money on the cash that you've set aside, it will definitely be there. It's an assured sum of money that is left with you to buy something or to fulfill your aspirations. So as compared to investing in the markets or in bonds or in any other source, it's always preferable that you set aside certain money for an important purchase like that. Rule number 7, think like an owner and buy income producing assets. Now, what are income producing assets? Any assets that help you generate income for yourself. It could be a property that you have let out on rental basis, or it could be money that you've invested in stocks and therefore you're helping yourself with the dividend, or you've bought bonds and therefore you're getting money on that. So whatever source of income you're getting, it has to be in income producing assets. Any asset that helps you make money on the money that you're investing. Very, very important, because that is what an owner truly does. He makes sure that his money is not lying idle. So look, which are the income producing assets for you? It could be different for different people, but you got to identify the ones that you have been earning consistent income from, or you're likely to earn consistent income from, and go for such income producing assets. Rule number 8, do not buy individual stocks. Now, when I first read this rule, let me admit, I felt slightly uncomfortable because most of us who invest would decide to buy individual stocks sometime or the other. But what Nick Maggiulli has proven here using a lot of data is that buying individual stocks is like flipping a coin. You might be right, you might be wrong. And in most cases, because you're not an expert, in fact, nobody can claim to be an expert when it comes to markets. You're likely to be wrong. And if you're wrong, then your hard-earned money is likely to depreciate. So rather than that, it's always preferable that you invest your money in buying certain things which are going to ensure that your money is not wasted, which means that you either go for mutual funds or you go for index funds. There could be other sources of income as well that you may want to consider. But rather than going for individual stock picking, which is nitpicking, very, very difficult to do for a lot of people, you could go for these safer alternatives, is something which the author has suggested. You may try that, and that is something which is going to help you cut down on the amount of time that you keep thinking, which stock do I go for this day? Okay, so maybe that should be of some help in the context of making a lump sum investment. Rule number 9, buy quickly, but sell slowly. So whenever there is an opportunity for you to buy something which you considered is relatively cheaper than what you anticipated, you've got to make that quick decision. You've got to go for that kill. But at the same time, when it comes to selling, which a lot of people panic when the market crashes, they tend to sell everything that they've got immediately and end up making a lot more losses. So be frugal, be smart, and take your time when it comes to selling certain things. Don't be in a haste because you end up making a lot more losses by trying to sell quickly. So buy quickly, but sell slowly. Rule number 10, invest as often as you can. I think this is the essence of the entire book, is that you got to consistently keep investing. A lot of people do invest, but their investments are not consistent. Okay. And because of which their portfolio, their corpus does not enhance over a period of time. So if you keep investing month on month, year after year, that is likely to give you the benefit of compounding. That is likely to give you a lot more money whenever you need it the most. So investments are always great when you do it consistently. Rule number 11, market crashes are usually buying opportunities. I'm sure you would have heard about this somewhere or the other in some form or the other, is that often when market crashes happen, a lot of people do not know whether they should jump in or they shouldn't. But as the author has suggested, if you look at what historical data has suggested, is that whenever there is a market crash, it is possible that you might sense a buying opportunity. You can actually go for buying in staggered lots, but these are opportunities, if you look at them as opportunities, because a lot of investment opportunities are undervalued when there is a market crash. So look for these opportunities, and if you are wise enough to keep some corpus aside, you can use that money to invest whenever the markets tend to break. Rule number 12, and I think this is by far the most important ingredient that the author has presented here. He says, time is your most important asset. Yes, you heard it right. Not money, but time is your most important asset. So whether you use that time to enhance your skills or you use that time to let your investment grow, it's all a matter of having the right perspective when it comes to time. So let your money grow with time, and therefore how you spend your time is also an important criteria, because the reason that the author says so is, let's say, for example, you have 1 hour. In 1 hour, the amount of money that you can earn is exponential, right? But with all the money that you've got, you can't get that 1 hour back. So it's as simple as that. So that's why the amount of time that we have with us as humans, the amount of time that you have for your investments, the time horizon that you're looking at, all of that is going to stay limited. So therefore, ask yourself, am I getting value for the time that I'm investing in? So time and not money is the most important asset, is what Nick Maggiulli suggests. So those are the 12 rules. I hope those 12 rules have given you some insight about how do you invest. None of this is based on my understanding. This is purely what the book has suggested. So you may feel free to agree or disagree with some of it, or perhaps most of it. Do let me know your thoughts about it as well. Well, who should read this book, therefore? Anyone for that matter. But specifically, if you're an investor, if money is something that triggers or gets the adrenaline rush, then this book definitely is something that you might want to read and understand and get to know the world of finance in a more closer and better way. Also, if you're a financial advisor, if you have your own clients to whom you suggest or make suggestions and recommendations about money, investments, and other matters like that, then perhaps there could be some pearls of wisdom that you could pick from this book. Also, if you're a finance educator, so if you're someone who's a financial guru or you are a teacher of finance, you're a faculty in the world of finance, surely this book can help you with some more areas that you may want to discover. Similarly, if you're a student of finance, if you love understanding finance, how money works, how investment works, then in that case as well, this book will be surely helpful. Last but not the least, if you're a portfolio manager, if you hold other people's portfolio or your own portfolio, whatever the case might be, then even in that case, this book will surely help you with some new areas of discovery in the context of finance. So all in all, it's meant for a lot of people, but even if you are fresh to the world of investments, this might be a good book for you to consider. How should you read this book? Now, what side of question is that? I mean, we all know how do you read a book, but there is a typical way in which you read every book. And this is one of the books which makes it simpler for you to read it. So one chapter at a time is what is recommended. I love the fact that the author also proposed that you need not start from chapter 1. You can actually go directly to any chapter based on your area of interest. So you can pick any chapter which is more relevant to you, right? For example, there's a chapter which talks about retirement and how do you save money and invest money for retirement. If you are around that age, you can directly go to that chapter, read it, and that also sums up a lot of good insights for you. But it's important that while you're reading this book, and that's something which I try to do, correlate it with your own self, which means look at your own investment habits, look at your own spending habits, what has worked for you, what has not worked for you. I think that comparison will really make this book very interesting for you. So after you read every book, just pause for a moment, look at certain things that you just picked up, compare that in your mind, and I'm sure that will give you a lot of new ideas. Perhaps it might be a good idea for you to note down. And that's why keeping a highlighter right next to you as you read this book will help you mark certain important sections so that you can revisit those sections as you want to read this book again. So a very easy book to read. You can go through it, breeze through it, in fact. And as I said, you can start from any chapter. There is no particular rule for that. So that's the book. That's the book that you want to read in the context of enhancing your knowledge on investments. Certain praise for the book. So there are people from the world of finance and many other co-authors who have also praised or showered a lot of praise on this book. The ideal combination of thoughtful and actionable is a comment made by James Clear. James Clear is a very popular author for Atomic Habits. And he says that this book is definitely very thoughtful and actionable. It will make you do things the right way. This is a must read, says Morgan Housel, who is also a very known author for The Psychology of Money, which is a very popular book in the context of finance and wealth creation. Investors, new and old, will benefit from Nick's practical approach to investing, says James O'Shaughnessy, and he's the author of What Works on Wall Street. So as you can see, many people have showered and shown a lot of love for this book, and I'm sure you would also enjoy reading this book. So find an opportunity for yourself to pick up this book and see what best can it do for you in the context of money that you are managing for yourself. I hope this review has helped you with some new insights, some practical points, which you can go and apply in your context. So do look forward to reading this book, and I'm sure it will give you some new ideas which you can apply in your context. Thank you so much for joining in and listening to the talk. I'll see you again sometime very soon on a different topic, something which will help you even more. Bye-bye for now.